Hi everyone, hello and welcome to today's training. I am super excited for today's training. It kind of sums up a lot of what we do inside the program, and I really wanted to bring this forth because I think many of us at the moment, especially after all we've been through in the last couple of years, but especially now, I'm receiving more and more just from people saying, messages from people saying, I'm overwhelmed, like I'm stuck in the grind, I'm stuck in the struggle, I'm stuck in the day-to-day busyness of everything, and I'm struggling to really get out of that. And I really wanted to tackle this in this particular way today because I feel like it makes it so clear. And then there are these steps that you can take today after today's training, and even during today's training I'm going to share a little technique with you, so I'm excited for that. But as you're popping on, just let me know, just pop into the comments and say, on a scale of like 1 to 10, how overwhelmed or how much in that struggle and in that push would you say that you feel that you're in at the moment? So it might not be right in this moment, but overall, like, let's look at the last week or even the last couple of days and just put in the comments, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressful has it felt? How overwhelmed have you been? How much have you felt like life is a bit hard? Like it's been a bit of a struggle for you? Because from all the questions that I ask and from our communications, I'm really receiving this loud and clear that it's not that you don't want to be there, like you want to move out of that, but it seems like there are some barriers stopping you from really feeling your best in daily life, and also from this creation mode, right, that we talk about. And when I say let's go from struggle to creation, I mean like let's go from that constant drive and that constant busy, and where the thoughts are aligned with what we need to do and how we need to get there and all of that. And let's get to this point, to this place where we can move and breathe and actually take action from the highest part of ourselves, like really standing in that personal power and taking action from there, instead of taking action from this place where it feels really hard, because we want it to feel easy for you. We want you to come alive in this easiness. We want you to move toward your dreams in a place of ease and grace and happiness, right? We don't want you to feel like you have to push to get there, or that you have to push to sort of get anywhere. So go ahead and just pop into the comments below, what is it that you've been feeling lately? And maybe you can put your finger on it and say, it's definitely overwhelm, or no, I feel like I'm struggling with this in particular, right? And so one of the ways that I love to look at this is Dr. Joe Dispenza. He talks about moving from survival mode to creation mode. And I love the way that he says this, because it kind of just reminds me that our default system, like our default mode is going to be to go back to that survival mode. And we really can have the power to shift out of that. We really can shift out of that in so many ways. So to move into creation mode, I'm going to give you a few simple steps today, but it can be really quite simple to do. It's just a matter of, really looking at and honing in on thoughts and thought processes, and finding out what are my dominant thoughts, what's dominating my day. So I'm going to ask you a few questions just as we go through today, as we move through this, and you can pop them in the comments or write them down. But let's get really clear for you on where your thoughts are currently at and how you can start shifting out of them today if they're not serving you, right? So let's just have a look. Let's just have a chat about what thoughts are going through your mind every day. So just having a think about, from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep at night, what do they look like for you? What do they look like? Because I know for me, for a lot of what felt like my life, I was constantly in this what needs to be done mode. This has to be done, then this has to be done, and I would fill my life up with stuff that needed to be done. And once I was at some kind of conference or seminar or something, and Eckhart Tolle He said something like, when you go to New York City, like imagine if aliens, this is a little off subject, but it relates, trust me. Eckhart Tolle said, imagine if aliens came to the planet and they like walked through New York City. And this one really got me, thinking. And he was like, imagine if they walked through New York City. Imagine what they would be thinking. Like they would be looking at each other and saying, but where's everybody going? Like, where are they all going? Because as you know, everyone in the big city, not everyone, but a majority of people in big cities, they're going fast, they're going places, they're doing things. And so we don't want to like set ourselves away from that and say, we can't ever do anything, but let's have a look at how much of the do is involved in our life at the moment. Because I know for me, like when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, it is kind of a weird thing, right? And I think he ended up saying something like, they're going to the future, how as Eckhart speaks. I love his accent. And he's like, they're going to the future. And he was implying that they're running away from the present moment and they're running into the future. And for what, right? For what? Because what are they going to do when they get there? Are they going to be like running again? And so that really started to get me thinking. Now, I must have been in my maybe like mid-20s at the time, and my life was filled with this. It was filled with this like to-do list and like things that needed to happen and things, and I wasn't really thinking about my heart, like my dreams. It was always in the back of my mind, but it was almost like I didn't have time to live the life that I wanted to live. Have you guys ever felt like that before? I didn't have time to live the life that I wanted to live. And I think back now and I think how crazy that sounds, right? Like when I say that out loud, doesn't it sound a little bit nuts? But put your hand up in the comments if you relate. If you're like, oh my gosh, yes, like I have definitely thought that at a time in my life, Marissa, or I've been thinking that lately. So we want to just have a think about what are the thoughts that are dominating our day? Like, what are the thoughts that are dominating our day? What are they? Are they logistics? Are they to-dos? Majority of the thoughts, are they to-dos? Are they like things that, feel like they're driving us forward, but at the end of the day, we're just circling? Like they're not driving us forward. They're kind of just getting us by. And so survival mode, right? Like that just getting by feeling. Just enough to get by, just enough time to get by, just enough energy to get by, just enough money to get by, whatever that is. But it's not really sitting in that abundant state of like, I can create a life that I desire. I can create the life of my dreams. I can create, right? So just have a think about that, because when I realized that that's what I was doing to me, I was like, wow, okay, so I have filled my life up with so much and I have so many lists and I have so much to do and I'm highly, highly focused on the things that need to get done. I actually don't have any time to create the life that I want to live. Like I don't have time to live the life that I want to live, right? Because I'm so busy over here. So let me know if you have felt that in the past. And so what are the dominant thoughts? What are the thoughts that are dominating your day? Is it logistics? Is it to-dos? I dare say for many of us and for a majority of us, majority of people are living in what we call the conditioned self. And I go into detail on the conditioned self and the authentic self in the workshops as they come around. I think there's another one coming up, I believe later on this month. And if you aren't familiar with this, dive into the workshop, because the shifts, like the mad transformation that people get in the way that they feel in their days, their clarity, their, finding white space in their mind to be able to breathe and think again and create again, like get to that point of creation. We'll go over this in a minute. So aside from the logistic thoughts, aside from the to-dos, aside from the don't have time to do this and all of those kinds of thoughts, what else is there? So quite often there are worry thoughts and fearful thoughts. And these thoughts can be, and I think Dr. Joe Dispenza was actually the one that said that like something ridiculous, like 50% of the thoughts that we think about the past are actually not actually not going over what happened in the past, but they're actually recreating past events. So having a think about, like, in your day, what are those worry thoughts? What are those, like, are you going back in time and recreating the past and turning it into something, you know, darker than it was, or thinking that maybe I should have said this, or I should have said that, or I could have said that? Worrying about, you know, what was said in past discussions, at social events and things like that. Worry about the future as well, worrying about, you know, what's going to happen, where are we going to be this time next year, or this time next month, or whatever it might be for you. And then there's that fear that sets in as well. And this is all, like, all of these kind of worry thoughts, fearful thoughts, we say that they are coming from conditioned parts of us. And when we think about the body and talk about the body and this mind-body connection, it's really the nervous system that's affected. So it's like whenever we're in those worry thoughts, those fearful thoughts, we are really shifting back into that fight, those fight-flight responses in the body. And we are the only animals, I think we're the only things on earth that actually can shift into fight-flight mode when there's no actual danger. We can go there just from our thoughts. So when we begin to, like, really start picking up on these thoughts and being like, oh, well, that's not real, like, that fear's not real, that one's not real either, this worry thought could go, we can start creating some space in between, you know, ourselves and our thoughts, right? Because we are two completely separate, like, beings. Like, there's the mind, and the brain has its own way of chattering, like the default mode network in the brain. That is like a constant just stream of thoughts. And do they mean anything? Sometimes not. You know, sometimes it's just processing. You know, the mind is wired. We're wired to create these fearful thoughts. Like, this is what happens. This is why we, you know, get into the fight flight mode, is because we get stuck in these thoughts sometimes. And so it's natural, it's normal, right? But do we want them? Do we need them? Not all the time. And so having a think about what dominates my day, right? And then what do they feel like? Because this is a whole nother conversation. I think I've done a couple manifestation trainings in here. This is a whole nother conversation. It's just that when we're in creation mode and we're driving our life forward and we're looking at what could be and we're thinking about potentials and we're like getting excited and we're actually maybe taking a little bit of action and we're like, and it feels good. It starts to feel like really fun and life is good again, and we're like connecting and we want to like hang with people and we want to, and all of this fun stuff is going on. We're like moving into that space of our, you know, our higher self and our creation mode. And so we want to have a think about, like, when we're in fight flight, and if we're consistently in fight flight, because sometimes we might feel like, oh, I'm not always there, but we're not always there. But are we there a lot of the time? Are these thoughts dominating our days? Because if they are, it's very likely then that we're having a low vibrational feeling that comes along with those thoughts. And so feelings are way more powerful when we look at law of attraction, or, you know, even just like this universal law of energy, like attracts like, right? If we want to be attracting really high vibrational things into our life, and we're doing it from a place of, oh, it's not here yet, I'm worried it's not going to come, and all of that, like, you girls know that when we're in that low vibrational state, we're not going to be bringing in what we want. We're going to be bringing in more of the thing that we're focused on. And so having a think about, like, what does it feel like? What does it feel like in your belly to move through your day in fight flight mode? What does it feel like to show up in your day and, you know, do all the logistics and all of that? Because if it's really fun for you, if you're doing something that's really fun for you and it's uplifting and it's pulling and it's engaging and, you know, it feels great and you're coming alive because of it, then you're in creation mode. Like, you're in that state of bringing in and making things happen and bringing your dreams alive and just coming alive, like, in life, right? But if you're stuck in these feelings of worry and these feelings of fear and these feelings of inadequacy and these feelings of, you know, lacking confidence and this self-esteem stuff and this inner critic and, you know, constantly down on yourself and needing to do more and all of that kind of stuff, then it's time to have a think about where this came from And so, like, for me, I turned into like a total people pleaser. I, went through my teens. There was some self-expression there that was not necessarily taken well, by people outside of me, teachers and peers and friends and, family and all of that. And then I went highly into this people pleasing phase where everything I did, it was like to gain, and I don't want to say everything I did, but a lot of what I did to feel important from the people outside of me, right? Like, it wasn't this inner strength, it wasn't this inner power, it wasn't this inner knowing, and it certainly wasn't like me fully alive in my authentic self, like bringing myself to the table. It was really just like me doing stuff to sort of get gratification from outside of me. And so put your hand up if you're a people pleaser, because hello, that was me for so long. And I won't say like I still don't do it. I do still occasionally hear those thoughts in my head that are like, what will they think? Or, but they just don't take me down anymore. They don't take me down. So having a think about like, where might this come from? Because sometimes what happens is we busy ourselves so that, we don't have to actually come alive. Like, that can be one form of self-sabotage. And then another one is that we're just so busy trying to gain the approval of people outside of us, or we're so busy trying to prove that we, are good enough or are worthy or whatever, that we can't slow down and take a breath, because that would mean that we're not like actively working toward being good enough, right? So the idea in here in these trainings is to get to the bottom of it. The idea in the Rejuvenate program is that we actually work through all of these with you. So if there are underlying beliefs that need to, be cleared and shifted, we do all of that. But the idea in here in the group is that we get you thinking about this stuff, and we get you shifting, and we get you shifting enough that you start to like move into that creation mode and realize your worth, and really know your value, and learn to love all those crazy parts of you as well, so that you can really be in your personal power and then step into whatever it is, whatever you dream of, whatever the life is that you would like to live, that we get you to that place where you can actually now be in creation mode. So I kind of feel like today's training is like, it kind of sums up all of it, because if we don't have these few things in place, it's very challenging to come over here and just play out our life in creation mode when we're really stuck in the struggle of, these constant thoughts and this constant holding us back and holding us down. And there may be a bunch of reasons why we do that. There may be a bunch of reasons why we're stuck in the struggle. And so sometimes we do need to look at that. Sometimes we do need to go and do some deeper healing, and that's what we do inside the program. But sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's just a matter of shifting out. So I'm going to give you a few ways now how you can shift out of that. So I would say most people, many people live in this survival mode, live in the workings of their conditioned mind, simply because they don't know. And when I learned this for the first time, my entire life changed. And then when I relearned it, because it is a bit of that, there's a bit of relearning, or there's at least a little bit of like, as we go to each new level, or not even a new level, but as each new stage of our life and new things happen and different things happen, of course, we're going to react differently depending on our conditioning, in the past and to date, and just our life experiences. And so when we go through each new thing, it's like we need to take the same tools again and apply it, like reapply it. It's like painting a wall, right? Or it needs more application sometimes, but you've got the foundational principles there. Like, once you know this stuff, you know it for life. And sometimes you just need to like come back to it again, because you forget about it, or you get lost in the workings of the conditioned self, or whatever. That definitely still happens for me. So having a think about, like, if most people live in this survival mode, well, now that you know this, or maybe you already knew this, maybe you've heard it a million times already, but you haven't had the tools or the techniques to really be able to shift out of it or step out of these thoughts and these feelings. Maybe your conditioned self has been so strong that it's been like, hello, you're going to stay here because this is what, this is what's important. But that higher part of you, like that deeper part of you, that deeper knowing, your, inner guidance, all of that might be saying, no, 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 no. Like there is more to life than this, and I'm willing to get there, and I want to get there. And so if that's you, then these are for you, right? So the first step of really like shifting out, moving more into this creation mode, which we call like your authentic self, living in the big circle of your life, like really living out, like taking action on your dreams and, choosing the things that you really want and desire in your life, not just dreaming about them. Is understanding that it is a process, right? So like I remember I used to go to like Tony Robbins conferences. I love Tony. I've worked for him, I've worked with him, I've worked with his coaches. There's a lot about Tony that I deeply admire, adore, and love his work, right? But once upon a time, I used to go to his conferences, and maybe I didn't do anything else, right? Like I just showed up to his conferences. And so I would show up, I'd go through this day event, and I would leave the event and I would be like, yes, I can do anything. And I was fully alive, in my authentic self, fully in creation mode. My nervous system was just like totally switched off in terms of all of that fight flight stuff. I felt amazing. I'd connected to myself, to others, like to my power. I felt incredible. And I would walk out the door at the end of the day and just be like, oh wow, I'm going to do so many things with my life. Anyone, hands up if you've ever been in this situation. So much is going to change now. I've had these new revelations. I can just see my future. I have the greatest vision and all of this. And then like 5 minutes later, I'd be like, whoa, what happened today? That was weird. That was fun. It was exciting. Anyway, and then I would just like revert straight back to that default way of being, default way of thinking, my conditioned self. I didn't understand. I didn't have this understanding of like how it worked, and that it actually is a process to get out of it. It's not just like showing up and having like this one realization and then everything's fixed kind of thing. It's actually like it takes daily practice, and it does take a little bit of work, like a little bit of work, but it's so worth it, right? So just knowing and understanding that it's not just like hearing this for the first time and being like, oh, I get it, awesome, thanks Marissa, bye. And it's not just like going to one seminar or doing one thing and kind of everything being fixed. It is a process, and just like it has been a process to create this ongoing kind of low vibrational stress thoughts, it's taken a long time to get to a point where it's constant and it's all the time, and it's maybe very conditioned, maybe not. It also is a process, and it takes time to unravel all of that, right? Or at least to shift your nervous system out of it and get your nervous system back to a point where it understands that its default is creation mode. Because when we're born, we're not born in the struggle, right? Like we're not born in this really hard space. Like we have moments where we share emotions and our nervous system flies to get what we want as babies, but it's not like this constant chatter of thoughts that holds us down. And so that has come about over a long period of time of this conditioning from things around us, our environment, how we grew up, all of this kind of stuff. So we have to remember that it does take a little bit of time, and it is a little bit of a process for this to change. And inside the program we talk about the authentic self muscles, like building your authentic self muscles, and it's just like going to the gym, right? And so if you have been at a point before where you've said, I've tried to get out of these icky thoughts but it doesn't work, I've tried to do some of this stuff, Marissa, it doesn't work for me, it's only that maybe the process started and it didn't get to really continue. Or maybe some of the tools and techniques you were using weren't, really helping you to shift. Maybe they were just doing it for a second, or, but not actually allowing your nervous system to relearn again and like really to get you out of that fight flight mode. That's a first and foremost. The second thing that I wanted to talk to you about today, or the second step in this, is that you can so easily shift your nervous system. And there I have bits and pieces everywhere inside these trainings. You have on Instagram, I've done like a few reels lately that have shown you different ways to shift out of that fight flight mode and to really help you get into that clear-minded, state. And quite often it's just like a vagus nerve reset exercise that can really help to just, calm things down, get that clarity, get that white space back. Maybe it's just a breath technique, but it's something that's taking you out of that survival mode in your body and then really getting you, to a point that you're in that creation mode and you can think and make the better decisions. We don't make the best decisions from our conditioned self. And so at the end of today, I'm just going to show you like this beautiful little technique that you can take with you that's going to bring you back to your authentic self, bring you back, into creation mode. And you can do this at any time of day as well. The third step is that sometimes we've got to be like a little bit harsh with the thoughts. So sometimes it's like, it's just not listening to them, and it's understanding that they're not all true, right? So pop your hand up in the comments if you know that some of the thoughts that you've been thinking throughout your day are not true. So for me, and I think I did a reel on Instagram, I think it's this week's reel on Instagram that was talking about all those inner critic thoughts, right? Those mean girl thoughts that come up. And I wanted to share it because they don't go away. It's not like they're all completely gone. They get more quiet and a lot of them leave, but they're still there. But you just get really, really accustomed to not listening to them, right? Like to knowing that they're not real. And so now when I hear them, which I still do, I hear inner critic, I hear, you can't do that, you're not good enough, you're this, you're that. But I just kind of laugh now and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's you again. It's all good. It's just conditioned self. Like I'm just wired. I'm wired to do that. I'm wired to shift into my fight, flight responses. Like that is, it's what we're wired to do as humans. But is it real? Like, is there any real danger? Is there any real reason for me to feel this fear? No. And quite often when I step into the fear, I feel better. And a lot of that releases. So if there's something that you are fearful of doing and you really want to do it, and there's no like actual physical danger, and that a lot of those thoughts are untrue, I challenge you. I challenge you to actually step in and do that this week, right? And so the third step is refusing to believe the thoughts, refusing to believe them, knowing that they are untrue. And it takes a little bit of this, like there is so much that we can do for our body, that mind-body connection to really get you out of fight-flight responses, to get you, into parasympathetic nervous system, not really allowing, that sympathetic nervous system to take over. There's vagus nerve resets, there's understanding your own vagal toning and knowing like what state you're in and all of that. There's all the physical stuff. But then there is a little bit of this little bit of battle strength that's needed to be like, oh no, that's actually not true. That's not a true thought. It's not true for me. It's not what I need or desire. Bye-bye. See you later, right? There is going to be a little bit of that. And so it's getting accustomed to that. And so maybe it's thought interruption techniques. Maybe it's going for a run. Maybe it's diving into a cold swimming pool. Maybe it is putting your hand up like that. That's what we were taught in Hypnobabies, right? Like if we were hearing things or feeling things, we would put the hand up. Maybe it is like Gabby Bernstein has a little hair tie on her hand, and every time she hears something that isn't true, she kind of flicks it to let her body know, like it's not true. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it is calming the mind. Maybe it is the mindfulness for you. Maybe it is not. Like maybe it is just creating space between you and your thoughts. Maybe it's just creating space, however you do that. My husband sails, or he likes to watch sailing, right? My kids play, right? Like how do you do it? How do you do it? And then the last step is just to really create that white space. And how do we do that? And so we need the techniques, we need the tools, right? So I'm going to show you a vagus nerve, a beautiful vagus nerve reset exercise. You can do meditation. There are so many free meditations in here. There's the 10 days of meditation. There are trainings with meditations on the end that Rebecca's actually pulling out for you. We're going to put them on YouTube this year for you. And you can also just flood the airways. So there are like mantras and affirmations that you can use. And why do we use these? Like, no, they're not all fluff. We actually use these to flood the airways so that we can create space between those non-serving thoughts and you, like the real you, the you who knows who you are, the you in your power, the you who understands, you know, your abilities and your potential and your beautifulness, right? Like all of that, and where you're going and what your dreams are made of and all of that. We need to create space between those thoughts that hold us back and down and who we really are. And once we do that, then we can start making our decisions from over here, in our authentic self, as we call it, right? So it could be breath, breathing. There are so many breath techniques in here. I think there's a training called 5 breath techniques to get you through anything or something like that. You can look that one up. But there are so many different breath techniques that we use inside here, inside the program. And literally, it can be anything. It can be whatever you want it to be. We use cold water therapy. You know, there. If you Google vagus nerve, you know, reset on YouTube, so much stuff will come up. It's unbelievable. So there's just so much. There is so much that you can actually do and start today. So let us just do this little exercise before we go. So placing your hands on your heart, and this is a little bit of a heart and mind sync. I have a meditation that we use inside the program that is called the heart reset, and that is syncing the heart and the mind. And there actually were studies done where they did a EKG, you know, had an EKG report, an EEG report, and they saw that with this particular breath technique and this particular exercise, which is not exactly the one we're going to do today, but similar, the heart and the mind of the heart and the brain, of the person actually began to sync. So they were looking at the results on the screen and they began to mimic each other. Right? So just to know the power of really coming back, honing in, like just being in touch with our own heartbeat, just breathing into that. And this is what we're going to do right now. Okay, so closing your eyes, find a comfortable position with me. And you're going to place your hands on your heart. Take a deep breath in through your nose, feet flat on the floor, spine nice and tall. Take a deep breath in. Breathe it all out. And this is going to support vagus nerve to support us in our body. It's also going to help to sync the heart and brain, which in turn brings down heart rate, balances out blood pressure, all the good things. Taking a deep breath in through your nose. Breathe it out through your mouth. And 2 more times, and this time as you take that breath in through your nose, you breathe all the way to the top. And once you think that you're at the top and you can't breathe anymore, breathe in a little bit more. And then hold. And breathe it all out. We're going to do that one more time. Breathe in through your nose. All the way to the top. Once you feel like you're at the top, you can't breathe in anymore, breathe in some more. Holding. And then breathe it all out. Let your body just take in some deep breaths now. And you'll probably find that you can take in a deeper breath. Now just allowing your mind to focus upon your heart. So see if you can feel your heartbeat with your hands inside your chest. Some people can even hear their heartbeat. Deep breaths. Just feeling the beat of your heart Whether you can feel it inside your chest or feeling it with your fingers or your palm of your hands. And just say with me, I'm okay. I'm okay. I am safe. I am loved. I'm okay. I am safe. I am loved. Taking breaths, deep breaths. I'm okay. I am safe. I am loved. Just focusing on your heartbeat. I'm okay. I am safe. I am loved. Keep that going with deep breaths. And there's this need for us to let our body know that we are safe, because fight, flight responses in the body is all about us not being safe, right? So we need to come back to our body, come back into our body, see that our heart is beating, like really allow ourselves to notice that, find that embodiment, and then really let ourselves know that we are safe and loved. I'm okay, I am safe, I am loved. So anytime you feel taking deep breaths, that you are, starting to feel a little overwhelmed, starting to feel a little stressed, you can use this exercise. I'm okay, I'm safe, I am loved. Feeling your heartbeat. Take a big deep breath in. Breathe it all out. You can shake out your hands, shake out any excess energy. Rub your hands together. Shake it out. Awesome. And just notice how you're feeling now after the training, and then after just doing that short exercise, just noticing how you feel. I definitely feel a little bit lighter, a little bit more grounded. So pop into the comments and let me know how you feel, and you can take that with you anyway. I use it to go to sleep at night. It's a great little trick actually to go to sleep at night, because quite often we go to sleep with those worry thoughts in our mind. And I use it anytime throughout the day that I feel like, I'm coming out of my body, or I'm going into those stress thoughts or worry thoughts. I hope today's training has been helpful. I love each and every one of you. I'm so grateful for you being in the group. And if you have any questions, of course, reach out to me. It's so great being with you. Mwah.